And Doug Browne, General Manager of the Peabody Hotel and President of Peabody Resorts. And he will explain that difference to you during his talk. Doug, take it away, please.
So he always sends me a note telling me what he wants me to talk to you about. But today we're going to do it a little differently. I'm going to ask you what you want me to talk about, and that's what we'll talk about. So if you want to talk about the Tigers, we can talk about the Tigers, football or basketball or tennis, whatever. Is that cool? Before I get into it, Doc, I am going to give you a hard time. So, you know, it amazes me. I got my master's in business from here, and it amazed me the amount of students that were graduating in a year or two but weren't working in the field that they were going to go into. And you don't realize how much that hurts you, because when you graduate, how many of you want to have a really good paying job? How many of you really think if you're not working in the field are going to get a good paying job? Nobody raised their hand. At least you're honest. The reality is when you graduate, you're going to have to start at the bottom. And the bottom could be in many places. But if you start now, and the reality is you could work 1 day a week at the Peabody, 1 day a week at the Peabody for the next 2 years, and you can put on your resume that you worked for the last 2 years at the Peabody. Nobody's going to ask you in the interview, did you work 1 day a week or did you work 5 days a week? Right? No one's going to ask you that. So you might as well start working now, put it on your resume and everything else, so that when you graduate, then you have a better chance of moving quicker where you want to be. So that's my parenting advice for the day.
No charge.
No charge. Even if you want to work in the restaurant as a server, you can still do that in a hotel. Cocktail servers at the Peabody probably make $70,000, $80,000 a year. Of course, the problem with them is that when they graduate, they don't want to change jobs because they're making so much money. One of my favorite bartenders at the Peabody, Anna, we went through the master's program together. She graduated, this was 4 years ago, and she's still working as a bartender because she's making so much money that she doesn't want to take the cut to go into a position to start moving up. But just think about that, keep that in your mind. So I'll tell you a little bit about me and my career, and then tell you a little bit about what's happening in the industry, and then I'll tell you a little bit about Peabody Hotels and Resorts. How's that? So you're wondering why you're sitting up here. So what you're going to do is you're going to write down questions, okay? So as I'm talking, you're going to come up with questions, really good, hard, difficult questions, okay? And then we're going to ask those questions of them. And the people that answer them correctly get one of these, okay? And these are dinners for two in Chez Philippe, and dinners for two in Capriccio's, and Sunday brunch. Okay? And we might even let somebody have an extra coat. So a little bit about me. I was born in the Caribbean, or I was born in California, raised in the Caribbean. My father's a retired colonel in the Air Force. My mother's a retired major in the Air Force. Both pilots in the Air Force. And when my father ended his career in the military, he became good friends with a guy named Lawrence Rockefeller. And the two of them joined together and they started opening hotels in the late 50s, early 60s. Those hotels eventually became known as Rock Resorts in the Caribbean. It was at the time probably one of the most luxurious high-end chains in the world. Little Dick's Bay was on the island of Virgin Gorda. Conneaut Bay was on the island of St. John. Dorado Beach was in Puerto Rico. The Woodstock Inn was in Vermont. Out in The Grand Tetons was Jackson Hole, Jackson Lake Lodge, and Jenny Lake Lodge. They were all really high-end resorts. I had the misfortune of having to grow up living on the island of Virgin Gorda and going to school in Puerto Rico. My sister and I, every Sunday, would take a boat from Virgin Gorda to Tortola, a plane from Tortola to Puerto Rico, and a car to a school that we boarded at all week, and then on Friday we reversed it and went home. It was really tough having to wake up every morning looking out at the ocean and being about 25 feet from the sand. You don't believe me, it wasn't tough, huh?
It's probably tough.
No, it wasn't tough, it was fun. So I grew up in the hotel business, but strangely enough, when I was a junior in high school, I didn't actually want to be in the hotel business. I wanted to be a veterinarian, large animal vet. I rode a lot, I was really athletic, and so that's what I wanted to do. I worked for a summer for a veterinarian and realized that I was not smart enough to be a veterinarian, so I better go to hotel school and get in the hotel business, because there was no way I was going to do 7 or 8 years of medical school to become a veterinarian. Although I miss it and sometimes I regret it, but I like what I'm doing and I have fun every day. So I went to college on an athletic scholarship, went to FIU. I have an associate's degree in hotel and restaurant management, I have a bachelor's degree in hotel and restaurant management, and then I have a master's in business. Master's in business, so funny, I'll talk to people, say, oh, I'm going to go off to get my master's. All of your professors are going to say, hey, continue on to school, because they're like used car salesmen. They all want you to keep going on. I'm just picking on you. But the reality is, unless you're going to teach or you're going to specialize in something, getting your master's in the hotel industry, it's not going to get you more money. So if you're thinking that getting your master's is going to get you more money, it won't. It might down the road at some point, but unless you're going to work in corporate or whatever. But don't be misled. And I know all the teachers, Radesh is going to hate me for saying that, but it's probably why they don't let me teach here anymore. So I grew up in the business, got into the hotel business, have worked all over. I was one of those people that early in my career, I told my bosses I would go anywhere. Send me anywhere. At the time, I worked for Intercontinental Hotels. I worked in Venezuela. I worked in Colombia, in Brazil. I've worked in Amsterdam, in Munich, in Germany. I've worked all over the U.S., in the Caribbean, in the Cayman Islands. I've opened 10 hotels in my career. Worked in Mexico. Before I moved to Memphis, I was a regional director for Fiesta Americana hotels in Mexico. Anybody here know Mexico very well? No one know Mexico very well? Well, I had the worst region in the company. The company had 82 hotels. My region was Veracruz, Jalapa, Mérida, Cancun, Cozumel, Iztapa, Acapulco, Puerto Vallarta. Anybody think that's a really bad region?
No.
No, it was the best region in the company. Actually, my 14 hotels produced 82% of the EBITDA of the company. Out of 80 hotels, 14 of them produced 82% of the EBITDA. Who knows what EBITDA is?
The money.
The money. I like that.
The money.
Would she get that okay on the test?
Very succinct.
Yeah. Show me the money. Pretty close. Anyway, I moved to Memphis 16 years ago. Before I get into that, I have a pilot's license. I'm a private pilot, have my twin engine rating, instrument rating. I have 3 black belts in 3 different martial arts. If you haven't figured out, I'm extremely driven. I played 3 sports in college. Now I'm aging myself because nobody does that anymore. But back in my days, people played 2 and 3 sports. Any Tigers fans in here? Yeah? Football or basketball?
Both.
Both? So I am on the field for every football game and on the bench for every basketball game. So Mike and Penny are both close friends, but I stay very involved. If you go to my office, it's all sports. The whole office is sports. I met the Bells family. I met Marty Bells at a funeral one day, and it's interesting. You never know who you're going to meet, when or where or anything else. But I met Marty Bells about 17 years ago at a funeral. We sat next to each other. We became friends. That night we were at a dinner together at the funeral. Continued to talk. A couple years later, the general manager that was at the Peabody was leaving, and Marty Bells called me and said, "Would you be interested in moving to Memphis?" And I said, "No, and you can't afford me." And he said, "Well, I'll figure out how to afford you. Why don't you come visit me in Memphis?" So I came to Memphis, visited Marty, and we hit it off. They made me a deal I couldn't refuse. I thought I would be here 2 years, and here I am 16 years later. I fell in love with Memphis, and I've got great friends here. I love it here. I got divorced about 6 years ago. Smartest thing I ever did. Oh, now I get to laugh. I used to live out in Collierville, sold my house in Collierville, bought a house in Central Gardens. It's on the historic registry. It was built in 1902, and I've spent the last 3 years renovating this hotel to its original state. I'm bankrupt because of doing that, but again, no laugh. You guys are a tough crowd. Give me those cookies back. No, I have enjoyed my house. Funny thing, I'm installing a generator today. That's why I was a little late getting to you.
You're losing power during the weather?
You know, who lives in Central Gardens? Anybody? Who loses power from time to time? Thank you, right? I lose power a couple of times a month. And sometimes it's for 30 minutes and sometimes it's 5 days. You never know. There's so many old trees and they fall down and power goes out. So I finally said, you know what, I'm putting in a generator. And it's funny because I was really worried about my neighbors. So I asked them, I said, how noisy is it going to be? And they said, it sounds like 2 air conditioning units. And I said, well, I'm really worried about the neighbors. And he said, you shouldn't worry about your neighbors. And I said, why not? He said, because if their power's out, they're going to be at your house. So that's probably true. Anyway, that's kind of me. I'm on a few boards in Memphis and around the country. I'm on the Orpheum board. I'm on the University of Memphis board and the Fogelman Business Schools board, Kevins Wilson board. I'm on the Liberty Bowl board and their past chairman. I'm on the Memphis Hotel Association board and their incoming president. I'm on the State Hotel Association board and their past president. I'm on Historic Hotels of the World, their board and their past chairman. I'm on the Memphis Tourism Board and their past chairman, and I'll be chairman again in 2 years. I know I'm missing. Oh, I'm on the Chamber Board and I'm vice chairman and on their executive committee, and I also chair their largest fundraiser. Did I mention the Orpheum? What else?
Still Memphis in May?
I'm on Memphis in May and their past chairman. Thank you. That's a fun one.
Yeah.
St. Jude.
Not on St. Jude. I leave that to the Bells family. They've got money to give. So I think that's all the boards, or close to it. I'm on the U Club board as well. I'm a member of the U Club, and I'm on their board. I think that's about it. Anybody wonder why I'm on those boards? You think it's because I've got great community spirit?
You just have a lot of free time.
A lot of free time. Wish. No, you know why I do it? I learned early in my career. Who here is friends with Fred Smith? I wish I could say I am, but I know who he is, and I sit on a couple of boards with him. Who knows who Pitt Hyde is? Does everybody know who Fred Smith is?
No,
Yeah? You know who Pitt Hyde is?
no.
Pitt Hyde is the founder of AutoZone. So what are the chances that any of us in this room would ever get to sit next to Fred Smith or Pitt Hyde for an hour or two,
No,
once a month?
it's no.
0 to none, right? But by being on all of those boards, I get that opportunity. And what does that do for the hotel? People do business with friends. So I tie the hotel to those boards. Now, in the meantime, I also get to help the community and actually get to do some fun things. The Memphis and May board, which you were aware of, is a fun board. You know, it's fun picking the bands and doing all of those good things and having to be forced to eat a lot of barbecue. The Liberty Bowl board was probably one of my favorite boards as well. The Orpheum is a lot of work, but I enjoy it. How many people like the theater? Anybody like the theater? Yeah, I love the theater. Okay. So those are boards that I'm on. So that's a little bit about me. I'm adopted. I found out that I was adopted 10 years ago. Don't know who my parents are, but I have figured out that my father is one of two people. And you're going to get it when I tell you. So my father is one of two people, either Richard Gere.
That was my guess.
What? Thank you. Or Bill Gates. I mean, who would like to be on his will, right? Nah, I don't know who my parents are. And I haven't decided to look either. So what else? I guess that's about it. Had a boat, just sold it. Everybody says that the best time of owning a boat is the day you buy it and the day you sell it. I cried the day I sold mine. I was told that it would take 2 years to sell your boat. It took 10 days. Sold my boat in 10 days. So I was kind of sad because in my mind I had it that I had it for another year, but oh well. Anyway, the Peabody, so Chris mentioned that I'm general manager of the Peabody. I really keep that position more than anything else just out of fear that if the Bells ever decide to fire me as president, then at least I got the GM part to fall back on. Usually they don't ever lay off GMs, so I keep that job. No, I really keep it because I love the business and I love keeping my hands in it and being involved. And the Peabody happens to be a really fun hotel to work at. We have 550 associates. We have about 75, 80 salaried managers in the hotel. I'm sure you're all aware it's a 4-star, 4-diamond hotel. How many 4-star, 4-diamond hotels are there in Memphis? How many?
They look at me. Technically, only the Peabody is the only 4-star hotel. Because technically, the Madison Hotel, we're not a 4-star hotel.
Very good. So there's 170,000 hotels in North America. There are only 160 4-star hotels. There are only 3 in the state of Tennessee, 4-star hotels. How many 4-star restaurants are there in the state of Tennessee? Who wants to take a shot at that?
One.
Good, yeah. You know which one it is?
It's
Very good. Chez Philippe is rated separately from the Peabody, has been for almost 30 years, and has been a 4-star, 4-diamond restaurant. And actually, Priyank, who is the manager in the restaurant, and the chef, Robert, have been working really hard for the last year with Forbes to get the 5-star rating, which would be really cool. So that's a little bit about the Peabody. So Peabody Hotels and Resorts. I'm a believer, and I've done this my entire career, and if there's anything you take at all out of this talk today, take this. Control your own destiny. Don't let anybody else decide what your destiny is going to be. If you were taking a trip to California tomorrow, now let's give you some time. How about Monday? Give you some time. Would you wait till Monday to pack, get in your car, and start driving? Or would you start planning now?
Probably would have already started.
You would have already started planning. Figure out kind of which way you're going to go, some stops that you're going to make along the way, more or less when you want to get there, right? Somewhat of a budget, how much am I going to spend in gas, right? You have a pretty good plan. Some better than others, right? Some people kind of like to go off the seat of their pants, but even those people have somewhat of a plan if they're driving to California. Would you all agree?
Yes.
How many of you have a plan for your career? One, kinda, one. So, it doesn't take a lot of time. The reality is if you gave it an hour, you'd probably come up with a pretty good plan. Now, keep in mind, the plan's going to change. Times change. But have a plan. Have a map. Where you want to go. How are you going to get to where you want to be? Something, I'll tell you a really sad story. My whole life, I was the youngest guy in the room. I was actually the youngest general manager with Hyatt Hotels. I became a general manager at the age of 29. And everybody told me it couldn't be done. In my days of coming up through the business, everybody was 45, 50, 60 that were GMs. Now you see it a little differently. But my entire life, I was the youngest guy in the room. One day I woke up, and now I'm the oldest guy in the room. Chris, what happened?
Father time.
It's just not fair. Now, every meeting I go to, I'm the old fogey in the room. How old do you think I am?
Oh, we,
Remember who gave you the cookie? You answer that.
I'm gonna say 56.
56?
Yeah.
You're okay. I'm a little older than that.
for real?
Yeah.
You look very good.
Yeah,
I was
thank
gonna
you.
use your late
63 next month.
I was gonna be in the late 40s.
So yeah, so I'm the old guy. But it's interesting, from the day I graduated from college, I had a pretty good plan and a roadmap in my head of how I was going to make it to GM. Now, not everybody in this room wants to be a GM. Some may want to be a director of sales and marketing or a food and beverage director. Some of you may want to be president of a company. Some of you may want to own your hotel. But if you don't create some kind of a plan, some kind of a roadmap, you're going to take a lot longer getting there. You may get there someday, but you'll get there a lot faster if you take the time to sit down and kind of create a plan. Are you with me? Good. So about 8 years ago, the Bells family made me vice president of the Peabody Hotel Group. And they had about 16 franchise properties at the time. Holiday Inns, Hiltons, Hamptons. And they wanted to get rid of them. They wanted to focus on Peabody. So my role was to get rid of them. I did my job a little better than I should have, because we sold them within a year. And all of a sudden now I'm vice president of nothing. There was a president of Peabody Hotel Group, and he was over the Peabodys. The Peabodys did not report to me. So to kind of give me a little apple, they said, okay, Little Rock is your hotel. Oh, we did keep the Hilton in Little Rock. At that time, we still had it. They said, we're going to give you the Peabody Little Rock. So it didn't take me long to figure out that we shouldn't have a Peabody in Little Rock. Peabody's a third-tier city. Peabody's, all three of them were 4-star, 4-diamond hotels. And the average rate, for example, at the Peabody here, our transient average rate, so I'm not giving away any trade secrets to the one listening in the back. So I'll just give you our transient average rate is $445. We generally run about $100 plus over anybody else in the city. But you can't get that in Little Rock. People just aren't going to pay it. It doesn't matter how great the hotel is, it's just, people just aren't going to pay it. So I convinced the owners that we really should look into maybe making it a Marriott. Of course, that created a lot of, argument between the family, because part of the family was really hooked on it staying at Peabody, and then there was another half that agreed with me. In the meantime, a local financial group here in Memphis offered to buy it, and we sold the Peabody in Little Rock. So that's all that problem. So now we're down to 2. My boss, Alan, who I've known for 30-some years, we opened the Stouffer Harbor Place in Baltimore. Who knows what Stouffer Hotels is? You know. So Stouffer Hotels is now Renaissance Hotels. Stouffer's was owned by Stouffer's, by Nestle's. It's a great hotel company, and they sold it to a Chinese gentleman, Dr. Henry Chang, who owned Renaissance Hotels at the time, and he made all the Stouffer Hotels Renaissance Hotels, and then eventually he sold 50% of his shares to Marriott, and it became a part of Marriott. So that's how that happened. Anyway, going back to Peabody, we're now down to 2 hotels, and one day we wake up and Hyatt offers the Bells family $720 million in cash for the Peabody Orlando. Now, who says no to $720 million in cash? Especially when we estimated that the hotel was probably worth or valued at about $650 million. So it's kind of one of those take it and run kind of deals. So now we've sold Orlando, and I had just become president just before it sold, and now I'm president again of just one hotel. So remember I said be in control of your destiny? So I came up with this scheme to create a new company called Peabody Hotels and Resorts. I went to the family, got them all together, and said, will you let me use the Peabody name to create this company? And I'm going to go out and I'm going to make brand management deals where we will brand a hotel at Peabody and we will manage it so that we maintain standards. You guys will collect brand management fees, just give me a piece of the action and let me be president. They said, absolutely. It's a win-win. They don't have to put any money into it. I get a retirement plan, and go. So for the last 2 years, we've been diligently working on getting brand management deals, and we have about 6 deals out there in the works. One in North Dallas, one in Indio, California, one in Castle Rock, Colorado, which is south of Denver, one in Orlando, one in Atlanta, one in Cuba. I got them all. And we're in varying stages. It takes a lot longer because financing a hotel that is that expensive. The reason why we see so many limited service hotels open everywhere is because they're cheap. Banks aren't afraid to lend money on them. The average probably limited service hotel costs what, maybe 20 million, maybe, or less.
If that. Yeah.
If that. How much do you think a 300-room Peabody costs? Anybody want to take a shot? How much?
Like 300 now.
Too high?
100 million.
100, you're close. 140 million is the Peabody in Dallas, North Dallas. It'll be 140 million. Castle Rock, which is in Colorado, will be probably around 300 million. That's a 300-room hotel as well, but the difference is it's going to be geared completely towards the health conscious, people who are into mountain climbing and water sports and health eating and stuff like that. So that whole hotel is going to feel really Colorado-esque and be a very cool hotel. Anybody know Kelly Slater? Know who he is? Surfer. So we've partnered with him, and Kelly has come up with technology that creates waves, and we're going to put in a wave so there will be year-round surfing at this resort. There's new technology that's out now where it's a certain product and there's a mountain right there where the hotel is, and we will have year-round skiing. So Olympians who are practicing and stuff like that will be able to come and practice year-round skiing. Even in the summer when it's 80 degrees out, you can ski. And it's outdoors. In Japan they have indoor skiing, don't they? So we created Peabody Hotels and Resorts, in control of my destiny. Still haven't opened the first one yet, so soon come. So that's kind of my story. The economy is good. The hotel industry is doing great. It's so funny. We'll finish the year at about probably 82% occupancy. We're completing renovating all of our guest rooms. So we will have renovated all of our guest rooms and still run 82% occupancy. And we drop a point or two and we all complain. I can remember when we were happy to do 69% occupancy, and now we're, hotels across the country are running in the 80s, 70s, and 80s. And when we drop a point or two, we're all disappointed, We've gotten spoiled, real spoiled. Everybody's trying to guess when the next recession is going to be. Who knows? My guess is maybe 20, but I don't think it's going to be a recession like we've experienced in the past. I think it might be just a dip, and then things are going to continue. But I'd be really rich if I really knew the truth. And I'm not rich, so. So that's about it. Why don't we open to questions? And you have the questions. So who wants one of these? So you are our judge.
What? Oh, I love the judge.
So you're going to choose who raised their hand first.
Okay, hold on.
So you can't spit out the answer, right? So you got to watch to see who raises their hand first. And Chris, you can be our backup.
Well, I have one question.
Yes.
Miss Johnson or Miss Webster?
Johnson Webster, but you can call me.
Who has this fine lady standing here for a class? So here we go, Doug. We got a little.
Now, I can be,
Oh, she's going to be impartial.
I
Oh,
can
yeah,
be
yeah.
very impartial. You
All
know
right.
it.
Okay. So what's your first question? No. You're going to ask it. Yes. If you want, you can ask it in Japanese. Yeah. What is it? Konnichiwa?
Konnichiwa.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. The first question is, when he was high school, what did he
Look that way. They can't all hear.
Okay. When he was in high school, what did he wanted to do?
Be a veterinarian.
Very good.
Let me look this one.
Enjoy. Next question.
What degree did he get in master's?
Ooh. I want to say back there.
Me,
Mm,
business.
Was that right?
Yes.
I was determined, I will.
Next question. Before he came Memphis, where did he end?
I think it was it? Yeah.
You were living in Mexico?
In Mexico? Do you remember the company?
Fiesta Americana Resorts?
Yeah, sure, yeah. Very good.
You even get dessert with that one.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, yeah, did she get it today?
Well, I mean, is it in the,
Oh, you mean with
in the envelope?
In the envelope, yeah,
Yeah,
yes. Yeah.
there you go.
Where'd you get? Free chips? Steakhouse?
Oh.
Let's name it one tray.
Where did he meet Mari?
Marty.
Mari.
I think it,
Which one do you think?
I thought it was.
Okay.
But
Whichever one you say.
you already won. You can do
No,
it.
yeah, okay.
Where do
Which
you
one?
think?
I thought I saw this young lady in the hat, but
Okay.
Up in,
At where?
as a big.
Who died? I didn't say.
What sports did he do when he was in college?
That's a tough question because I never said, did I?
Yeah, you only told us two.
Huh? Huh?
You only told us 2 or 3.
Yeah, I played 3. Which ones did I say? Who raised your hand?
that one was a tough one. My backup, did you get it? I thought it was her in the gray.
Okay, what sports was?
You played football and sat basketball.
That's right, and tennis was the other one. Which one do you think was my best?
Basketball.
He was on the bench in basketball.
Ball, that's on the bench.
No, I'm on the bench here. Basketball was my best sport. But I will tell you a funny story. Who knows Mike Norvell? Do you know Mike well?
I mean, I've served him before at work.
Oh, okay. So Mike does not like people coming to his practice. He's very strict, closed practice, does not want to be disturbed. So last year I did this Real Men Wear Pink. So it's to raise money for breast cancer. And so for 30 days, every day I have to wear pink. And the whole goal is that I'm going to raise money. I raised about $25,000. But I did it by our PR team at the hotel had me everywhere, every day. And so they really wanted me to do a shot wearing pink and Mike Norvell wearing pink and me at a football practice. Now that is virtually impossible. He does not allow people to do that. So I figured the only way to get it done was I was having dinner with Mike and Maria. Maria's his wife. And I asked him in front of her. So you ask a man, will you help raise money for breast awareness? What do you think the wife is going to do? You need to do this, honey. So anyway, we went and I showed up and we had a little competition between the two of us to see who could still throw a ball. He beat me, but we threw a ball into a tire, and it was a lot of fun, and he brought all the players over and everything, and we all took a picture. It was a lot of fun. Tubby did the same thing. Next question.
How many 4-star hotels in Memphis?
Which one did you say?
Last one. Yeah. No. The last one, yeah.
One. Not the Madison. Ooh. Actually, the Madison's a 4 diamond hotel.
That's why I like started.
How old is he?
60.
Wait, he said next month.
If you lied,
He said next month.
21. Oh, look at this. She gets dinner for 2 and shake for leave.
He's not 63 though. He's 63 next month.
Yeah, so that's incorrect.
That's
I
incorrect.
protest.
I protest.
You have a
You
protest.
told us you're 63 next month.
Yeah.
You're 62.
You know what? You're right.
Oh.
Oh. Tell you what, I'll give you a consolation prize.
All
That's
right?
right, good catch. So another question.
This is the last question.
Last question.
What did he say about destiny?
No, that's,
The what?
yeah, the one all the way in the corner.
Yeah, corner.
Control your destiny. That's what you get her dinner for 2 and shit. You want to take her husband? It's his birthday tomorrow.
Saying that the correct answer.
So, do you all have any questions of your own?
You just said your birthday's next month. What day?
It's actually November 17th.
Oh, that's a good day.
Reckless
I'm a
detective.
Scorpio.
That's my birthday.
Passionately dangerous. Is that your birthday too? Yep. What else? Any other questions? Let's hear it for what Mayo? Mayo. And you got your